I am Luis Remba.
I'm Lea Remba.
I am the boss. No, really no. My son is the boss, but we found the Mixografia in Mexico a long time ago, like 51 years ago.
Luis's father had a commercial print shop, and we met Pablo Higgins, an American artist that was in Mexico, and he convinced us to open an art printing studio in Mexico. So we start inviting artists to come to the shop. Each time we had better artists. We worked with Leonora Carrington, Gunter Gerso, and it came a time that we approached Rufino Tamayo. And Tamayo, he said, I already did lithographs in Italy, in France, in many countries. I'm not interested. If you can develop a process, de bulto, he said in Spanish, with texture, with relief, I will be very happy to collaborate with you. One day we came with Tamayo with a wax plate, and we told Tamayo, do one of your man's here, haga uno de sus monotes aquí, because he used to do this, all these men. And Tamayo was very shocked because he said, I work with a screen, with stone, with this, but with wax. But he took the challenge. Luis went to the studio and they did all what he needed to do. And when he came back with a proof in gray so he can see the textures that he created, he was very surprised, and he hugged Luis and he told him, you are an engineer and artist. And we started collaborating for close to 20 years with him. We expand to Los Angeles.
And all this is developed and continue to developing by Shaye, our son. He do his job.
My name is Analia Saban. I'm an artist and I work here in Los Angeles. My practice, I think it's hard to define, even for me, even though I've been doing it for 20 years. I guess it comes from a tradition of conceptual art, and it's basically, I think every project starts with the idea, and then I find the material that would attach to the idea. Mixografia, they basically invite artists. It's not that we can, knock on their door and come in and work with them.
We like to work with artists that already have had a certain trajectory, and we need to like what they do. Because I think that way that's an easy path to establish a connection with the artist and their ideas, and feel, let's say, probably the excitement that they feel when they are producing an artwork, which, because it's a collaboration, so you want to be cheering as well.
And I wanted to have an idea that would, make sense for Mixografia. So I just went into my closet and I started cutting all the tags from my clothes, and then I put them in a little plastic bag and I said, okay, here's the new show,
As Analia said, she brought a bag full of labels. And from that, we start working with her, developing the concept for the project.
I think what's interesting about collaborating with Mixografia is that you come in and you're part of a long legacy of artists who have worked here before. Artists like Jean Baldessari, Ed Ruscha, Louis Bourgeois, Jacob Hashimoto. You know, in a way, it's like a healthy competition, or it's basically saying, okay, this is all that's been done. What can you contribute now? And I will always have to look at every project that came before me and think about, okay, what can I bring to the dialogue that's uniquely mine? And I think that's always very interesting, sometimes intimidating, but mostly a good challenge.
Printing processes, the artists are tied to a certain material. If they want to do a lithograph, they need a stone or an aluminum plate. If it's an engraving, a copper plate. If it's a seal screen, they need a screen. Or if it's a wood, they need to work on a piece of wood. Mixografia is a process that the artist can choose any material. They can work with soft materials, with hard materials, cloth, plaster, cement, sand, you name it, whatever. And then we can have like low relief, flat relief, and high relief in one plate. And this is integrated, and the printing plate is so sensitive that we have like the fingerprints from Henry Moore in a plaster, or from Tamayo working with plasticine, or you can see the threads of the Analia Saban or Hashimoto. It's very sensitive, and it reproduces 100% what the artist did.
This is the workshop. This is where we print. These are the two presses we have. That section over there is what we call the wet area, and that's where we make the handmade paper. Edgar Barradas, he's inking a plate. This is Jacob Hashimoto, layering all the colors on the surface of the plate. When the plate runs through the press with the paper on top of it and we exert pressure on it, the paper is going to pick up all these inks. Our paper is 100% cotton. The fibers, we mix them with water in order to create the pulp. This is the pulp that we use to make the paper. It's an archival pulp to produce a long-lasting paper.
It's much more than working with Mixografia itself. Then Mixografia has to go out and also find resources in order to make the production happen. So they had to go out and find an embroidery company, and then find all the different fabrics that could look as if we were like looking at, you know, a small piece of fabric through a microscope, so like with very thick weaving.
You see the enlargement, shows a thick weave. Also, this was like cut, so it's not straight, it's round, and the edges are irregular. We used, as she said, embroidery to replicate the physical elements of each image. And you see, the weaving of this fabric is parallel to the weaving of this fabric.
And once we had that, they make a mold of that, so they cast it, and it's basically a mold. You can think of it as a cookie sheet, but you know, instead of like cookies, it will come out as a mold of the print. And in that mold, they pour the paper pulp, and then when they take it out, they have the print, which is like a three-dimensional representation of that fabric. And then it's done with like, I don't know how they do it, but it comes out, you know, with all the colors we need, and then there are a lot of finishing touches, and then that's how you get the Mixografia print, which is basically a three-dimensional print that has a lot of, you know, components that come from the making of the mold and also from hand painting.
This label has the folds, you know, a fold, and also the color is more like worn, used, you know, and lots of threads coming out, you know, as if it's a really old object. And if you see, you know, it's a print. This is the back of the print. This is paper, you know, the same as this one. So it's everything on the surface of the paper.